The smoke never cleared any more in New York. 6 months after the Striders arrived, the city's broken towers stood like tombstones against the gray sky. Kate pressed herself against a crumbling wall, her worn military boots silent on the debris-covered ground. Her breath came out in small white puffs in the cold air as she watched an alien patrol march past her hiding spot. The Striders were massive creatures, each standing nearly 8 feet tall. Their armor gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, even in the dim light. Kate counted 5 of them in the patrol. 4 carried the standard plasma rifles, but the one in front, he was different. His armor bore red markings, and he moved with the confidence of a leader. Kate waited until they passed, then slipped from shadow to shadow. The small backpack she carried contained her day's findings: 3 cans of food, some medical supplies, and best of all, a working radio. The other survivors in her hidden shelter would be overjoyed. But she had stayed out too long. The sun was setting, and the Striders always increased their patrols at night. Their enhanced vision made them even more dangerous in the dark. A sudden explosion lit up the sky several blocks away. Kate instinctively ducked behind an overturned car. Through the shattered windows, she saw the patrol turn and move toward the blast. This was her chance to make it back to the shelter. She took 3 steps before a deep voice stopped her cold. Impressive stealth capabilities for a human. Kate spun around. The leader of the patrol stood there, his helmet retracted to reveal a face that looked almost reptilian, with scales in shades of deep blue and sharp, intelligent eyes. He towered over her, but made no move to raise his weapon. "Most of your kind run, or fight poorly and die," he said, his English perfect despite coming from such an alien mouth. "But you've been watching us, learning our patterns." Kate's hand inched toward the knife at her belt. Even if she died, she wouldn't give up the location of the shelter. There were 37 people down there, including children. The Strider commander tilted his head, studying her with those unblinking eyes. "I am Commander Rex. I've been tracking you for 3 days." Kate's blood ran cold. Had she led them to the others? No, she always took different routes, doubled back, checked for followers. "Your tactics are interesting," Rex continued. "The false trails, the decoy movements, military training." "Go to hell," Kate said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Rex made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Hell. Your human concepts are fascinating. We Striders believe in making the most of the present moment." He took a step forward. "Your species has been disappointing. Weak. But you," his eyes narrowed, "you're different." The explosion site erupted in plasma fire and screams. Kate knew it was probably a diversion set by other survivors. She had to get away, had to warn them that the Striders were getting better at spotting their tactics. "Your people die because they don't understand us," Rex said. "They don't understand strength." He moved with shocking speed, closing the distance between them before Kate could blink. "But you could learn. You could understand." Kate struck with her knife. Rex caught her wrist easily, but there was approval in his expression. "Yes," he said, "fighting until the end. This is what I've been seeking." His grip was like iron, but he still didn't draw his weapon. "I have a proposition for you, human, one that could change everything." Kate struggled in his grasp, but it was useless. In the distance, she could hear the heavy footsteps of the other Striders returning. The commander's next words would change her life forever. "Your tactics intrigue me," Rex said, "and I find myself in need of a strategic companion." His mandibles clicked in what seemed like amusement. "So here is my offer." Kate's back pressed against the cold concrete wall of the abandoned office building. Commander Rex's massive form blocked any escape route, his armor gleaming in the dying light that filtered through broken windows. The other Strider soldiers formed a half-circle behind him, weapons ready but not raised. "Your choices are simple," Rex said, his alien features unreadable. "Share my quarters as my tactical companion, or face execution." He stepped closer, and Kate could smell something like heated metal coming from his armor. "I would prefer not to waste your potential." Kate's mind raced. The knife in her hand seemed useless now, like a toothpick against a tank. But it wasn't just her life at stake. The shelter held dozens of survivors, including old Tom, who kept the children's spirits up with his stories, and little Amy, who had just learned to smile again. "Why?" Kate forced the word out. "Why not just kill me like the others?" Rex's mandibles clicked softly. "Because you understand war. You've survived not by luck, but by skill." He gestured at the ruins around them. "Look how long you've evaded us in this sector. My soldiers grow stronger hunting you, yet you persist." A distant explosion rattled the windows. Kate knew it was another diversion, could picture the desperate faces of those trying to draw the Striders away from wherever they were really attacking or defending. "If I refuse?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Then you die here." Rex's voice held no cruelty, just certainty. "And we will continue hunting your fellow humans until none remain." He tilted his head. "But accept, and perhaps you can influence how we conduct that hunt." Kate's grip tightened on her knife. She could try to attack, to go down fighting. But then what? Her death would change nothing. But if she accepted, "You want me to help you kill my own people." The words tasted like ash in her mouth. "I want you to help me understand them," Rex corrected. "Your tactics, your strategies, they're different from ours. Unpredictable. This makes you dangerous, but also interesting." One of the other Striders shifted uncomfortably. "Commander, keeping a human this close to..." "Silence," Rex ordered, not even turning to look at the soldier. His eyes remained fixed on Kate. "You have survived because you can adapt. Now prove it." Kate's mind worked furiously. Living among the Striders would mean access to their technology, their communications, their plans. If she was careful, if she played this right. "The choice is yours," Rex said. "But choose quickly. My patience has limits." Kate looked at her knife, then at the alien warriors surrounding her. She thought of the shelter, of all the people counting on her to return with supplies. Maybe this was a way to help them more than she ever could from the shadows. "If I agree," she said slowly, "I want something in return." Rex's expression might have been amusement. "You are not in a position to bargain. You want to understand humans." Kate met his gaze. "Then understand this. We never stop fighting for what matters to us." There was a long moment of silence. The other Striders seemed to be holding their breath, if they even breathed like humans did. Finally, Rex nodded. "Speak your terms." "Any humans, I say, are not to be harmed," Kate said firmly. "If I'm going to be your companion, I want the power to protect those I choose." Rex studied her for what felt like hours. Then he did something that shocked everyone present. He laughed. It was a strange, rumbling sound, like distant thunder. "You continue to prove my judgment correct," he said. "Very well. I accept your counteroffer." He extended one massive hand. "Now shall we begin our arrangement?" Kate looked at the offered hand, knowing that whatever she did next would change everything. Not just for her, but for everyone she hoped to protect. The Strider command ship loomed over what remained of Central Park, like a dark metal mountain. Kate walked beside Commander Rex, trying not to show her awe at the massive vessel. Her backpack with the scavenged supplies was still slung over her shoulder. Rex had allowed her to keep it, which surprised her. "Your new quarters," Rex announced as they entered through a door that seemed to melt open at their approach. The internal corridors glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere. Kate felt the stares of other Striders as they passed. Some looked angry, others curious, but all quickly looked away when Rex glanced in their direction. The hierarchy here was clear. No one questioned the commander's decisions, at least not openly. They stopped at a large door marked with symbols Kate didn't recognize. Inside was a space larger than any apartment she'd seen in the old world. One wall was entirely transparent, offering a view of the ruined city below. The viewing wall can be adjusted to your preference, Rex said, touching a panel. The view shifted to show different areas of the city. You may observe but not communicate with the outside. Kate nodded, taking in the alien furniture, the strange devices mounted on walls, the soft humming that filled the air. Everything was scaled for beings much larger than humans, making her feel like a child in an adult's room. These will be your areas, Rex continued, indicating several sections of the space. Rest. Clean yourself. When you're ready, we will discuss strategy. He turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. He pressed something on his armor, and a holographic display appeared in the air. This shows your authorized zones in the ship. Attempt to enter unauthorized areas, and the consequences will be unpleasant. After he left, Kate explored her new prison, or opportunity, depending on how she played this. The cleaning facility took some figuring out, but the warm water was the first real luxury she'd had in months. Her old clothes were replaced by what seemed to be a modified version of Strider civilian wear, scaled down to her size. Later, as she stood studying the view of the city, a different Strider entered. This one was slightly smaller than Rex, with green-tinted scales. So this is the commander's pet human, the Strider said, mandibles clicking in what Kate was learning to recognize as contempt. I am Second Officer Vale. I oversee ship operations. Kate, she replied simply, watching the alien's reflection in the transparent wall. You should understand something. Vale moved closer. Some of us question the commander's fascination with your kind. One wrong move and... Is there a problem, Second Officer? Rex's voice cut through the room like a blade. Vale stiffened and turned. No, Commander. I was merely introducing myself to your new tactical advisor. Good. Rex's tone made it clear the conversation was over. Vale left quickly, but not before shooting Kate a look that needed no translation. You will face more of that, Rex said after Vale was gone. Prove them wrong. Kate turned from the window. How? Show them what I already see, that humans are not simple prey, but worthy opponents. Rex activated another holographic display, this one showing troop movements across the city. Now, tell me how your people think. How do they keep evading our standard search patterns? Kate studied the display, her military training kicking in. This was her chance to help the survivors, to feed the Striders false information while learning their weaknesses. But she had to be careful, had to make it believable. Your search patterns are too rigid, she began, pointing to one sector. Humans are good at spotting patterns, so they learn to work between them, to find the gaps. Rex watched her intently, and Kate knew every word she spoke would be analyzed. This dangerous game was just beginning, and the stakes were higher than ever. 2 weeks had passed in the Strider command ship, and Kate was learning more than she ever hoped. She sat cross-legged on her oversized bed, making notes on a data pad Rex had given her. The device was meant for military reports, but in private moments, she used it to record the Striders' weaknesses. Their armor had a blind spot at the base of the neck. Their communications relied too heavily on central control. And most importantly, they were creatures of habit. Even their battle tactics followed strict patterns. A soft chime announced Rex's arrival. Kate quickly switched the pad's display to show legitimate tactical analyses. Your insights have proven valuable, Rex said, studying a holographic map of recent patrol routes. Encounters with human resistance have dropped by 60%. Because I'm helping them avoid you, Kate thought, but kept her face neutral. Humans are adaptable. When one approach fails, we try another. Yes, Rex moved to the viewing wall, which currently showed the sunset over the ruins. Like you have adapted here. The other officers are starting to see your worth. Except Vale, Kate knew. The second officer watched her constantly, looking for any mistake. But even Vale couldn't deny that Kate's suggestions had made their patrols more efficient, even if they were efficient in all the wrong places. Tell me, Rex said suddenly, why do humans create art? The question caught Kate off guard. What? Rex gestured to a small sketch she had made on her data pad during a quiet moment. Just a simple drawing of Earth's moon. We found human dwellings filled with images, music, stories. Even in survival situations, you make these things. Why? Kate considered her answer carefully. Every conversation with Rex was both an opportunity and a danger. It helps us remember who we are, what matters to us, and what matters to you, Kate. Their eyes met, and Kate felt that strange flutter in her chest that had been happening more often lately. It confused her, made her mission more complicated. Rex was the enemy, she reminded herself, even if he sometimes showed curiosity about humans that went beyond military interest. Survival, she answered finally. Protection of those who can't protect themselves. Rex made that rumbling sound that she now knew was laughter. Always the warrior's answer. Yet you make drawings of moons. An alarm blared through the ship before Kate could respond. Rex's posture changed instantly, all casual curiosity vanishing. Command deck, he ordered into his communicator. Report. Major breach in Sector 7. Vale's voice crackled back. Human resistance fighters. They've acquired Strider weapons. Kate's heart raced. She hadn't known about this attack. Was it her shelter? Had they managed to organize without her? Interesting timing, Vale's voice added. Perhaps your human advisor has insights. I must go, Rex said, ignoring Vale's implication. He paused at the door. You will remain here. After he left, Kate paced the room, mind working furiously. The resistance having Strider weapons was new. That meant they were getting stronger, better organized. But it also meant higher risks, more casualties when they were caught. She looked at her data pad, at all the information she'd gathered. The Strider's weaknesses, their patterns, their blind spots. If she could get this to the resistance. But then she thought of Rex asking about her drawing, showing genuine curiosity about human nature. She thought of how he listened to her suggestions, how he defended her against Vale's suspicions, how he was different from what she'd expected. Focus, she whispered to herself. Remember the mission. But as explosions lit up the evening sky, Kate wasn't sure what the mission was anymore. Save humanity. Study the enemy. Or something much more complicated that she wasn't ready to face. She touched the viewing wall, watching the battle unfold below, and made a decision that would change everything. The holding cells in the Strider ship were colder than the rest of the vessel. Kate stood beside Rex, looking through the energy barrier at the captured resistance fighters. Her heart nearly stopped when she recognized old Tom among them, his face bruised but his eyes still defiant. These humans raided our weapon storage, Rex said. They killed 3 warriors before being captured. He turned to Kate. You will question them. Kate kept her face blank, even as her mind raced. Tom hadn't looked at her yet, and she prayed he wouldn't give away that he knew her. Commander, Vale stepped forward from the shadows. Allow me to conduct the interrogation. The human cannot be trusted with this task. You doubt my judgment, second officer. Rex's voice carried a dangerous edge. I doubt her loyalty, Vale replied. These are her people. And our sensors detected unauthorized data storage on her pad last night. Kate's blood ran cold. She had been careful, so careful, with her notes about Strider weaknesses. But she'd gotten too confident, too comfortable. Rex turned to her slowly. Is this true? Before Kate could answer, Tom finally looked up. His eyes widened in recognition. Kate, he croaked. You're alive. We thought. His voice trailed off as he realized what her presence here meant. The silence in the holding area was deafening. Vale's mandibles clicked in triumph. Well, the second officer said, that answers the loyalty question. Kate. Rex's voice was quieter now, more dangerous. Explaining. She looked between Tom and Rex, seeing her carefully built plans crumbling. But maybe, just maybe, she could still save something from this disaster. Yes, I know them, she said finally. And yes, I've been gathering information. but not for the reasons you think. Commander, she admits to spying. Vale moved to seize her, but Rex held up a hand. Let her speak. Kate took a deep breath. I've seen both sides now. The Strider's strength, humanity's resilience. We're killing each other when we could be learning from each other. Learning. Vale scoffed. They are primitives who just managed to breach your security and steal your weapons. Kate cut in. Who keeps surviving despite everything you throw at them. Maybe that's worth studying instead of destroying. Kate, don't help them. Tom called out. Whatever they'd done to you. They haven't done anything to me, Kate replied. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Both sides are so busy fighting, neither sees the opportunity here. Rex had been silent, watching her intently. Now he spoke. And your hidden data. Your notes about our weaknesses. Insurance, Kate admitted. And yes, information that could help humans survive. But also proof that our species can understand each other, adapt to each other. She turned to face Rex fully. You wanted to know why humans make art even in war. It's the same reason I wrote those notes. We're always looking for new possibilities, new ways forward, even in the darkest times. Pretty words, Vale sneered, but they don't change your betrayal. No, Rex said suddenly. They don't. He looked at Kate with an expression she couldn't read, which is why what happens next is so important. He drew his weapon, and Kate tensed, but instead of pointing it at her or the prisoners, he held it out to her, gripped first. Prove it, he said. Prove that understanding between our species is possible. Choose what happens here, now, to these prisoners, and to yourself. Kate looked at the weapon, then at Tom's frightened face, then at Rex's unreadable one. The choice she made next would determine not just her fate, but possibly the future of both species. She reached for the weapon, her decision made. Kate gripped the weapon Rex had handed her, feeling its weight. Then, slowly and deliberately, she placed it on the floor between them. I choose neither revenge nor submission, she said clearly. I choose change. Rex's expression shifted into something she'd never seen before. Before Vale could react, Rex pressed a control on his armor. The energy barrier holding Tom and the other prisoners vanished. Commander, Vale stepped forward. This is treason. No, Rex replied, his voice carrying through the holding area. This is evolution. He turned to the other guards. I am not the only one who has seen the flaws in our conquest, who has questioned the wisdom of destroying what we could learn from. 3 of the guards straightened, moving to stand beside Rex. The 4th remained with Vale, weapon raised. The High Command will hear of this, Vale snarled. They will, Rex agreed. They will hear that humans are not merely prey to be hunted. They are warriors worthy of respect, and some of us have chosen to stand with them. Kate moved quickly, helping Tom and the other prisoners up. We need to move fast, she said. Vale will call for reinforcements. Already done. Vale smiled, reaching for his communicator. But before he could activate it, one of Rex's loyal guards fired, stunning him and his remaining supporter. We have 20 minutes before they check in, Rex said. Kate, this is your element. What's our strategy? Kate's mind raced with possibilities. We need to split up. Tom, can your people still fight? The old man nodded, rubbing his wrists where the restraints had been. Just give us weapons and point us at the enemy. No, Kate said firmly. I need you to do something more important. Take Rex's data cube. She pulled the small device from her pocket, the one where she'd stored all her notes about Strider weaknesses. Get this to every resistance cell you can reach. Show them we have Strider allies now. Rex looked at her with new understanding. You never uploaded your notes to the ship's network. Too risky, Kate smiled briefly. Humans learn to keep backup plans. The ship's lights suddenly shifted to red. Alarms began blaring. Vale had a dead man switch, one of the Strider guards reported. Security forces are mobilizing. Perfect, Kate said, surprising everyone. They'll follow standard containment protocols. Remember how I helped you make those protocols more efficient, Rex? The massive alien commander actually grinned. You made them more predictable. Exactly. They'll seal off sections in a standard pattern, starting from the outer rings. Kate turned to the guards. You three, take the prisoners through Maintenance Shaft 7B. It's a blind spot in the new protocols. Get them to the surface. And us? Rex asked. We're going to the command center. Kate picked up the weapon she put down earlier. Time to show the High Command how humans really fight. They moved quickly through the ship's corridors. Kate had memorized every route during her weeks here, and Rex's presence meant most guards hesitated just long enough for them to get past. You knew this might happen, Rex said as they ran. You've been planning for it. I planned for everything, Kate replied, including the possibility that some Striders might be different, might see another way. They reached a junction where they could hear troops approaching from both directions. Last chance to surrender, Kate said with a small smile. Rex checked his weapon. Humans aren't the only ones who can adapt. He looked at her with what she now recognized as respect. Together. Kate nodded, raising her borrowed Strider weapon. Together. Now let me show you how humans create chaos in neat, orderly systems. The troops rounded both corners at once, and the revolution began. The command center of the Strider ship lay in ruins. Sparks flew from damaged consoles, and the viewing screen showed chaos erupting across the city. Kate stood beside Rex, both of them breathing hard from the fight, as the holographic image of the Strider High Command flickered before them. You dared defy our entire history. The High Commander's voice boomed through the room. Allying with these primitives. I dare to evolve, Rex replied, standing tall despite his injured arm. As our species has always done. We conquer, yes, but we also learn. That is our true strength. Kate stepped forward, ignoring the whispers among the High Command at seeing the humans speak. Your forces are in disarray. The resistance cells have your weaknesses, your patterns, and now they have Strider allies teaching them to use your own weapons. Then we will burn this entire city, the High Commander snarled. Start over elsewhere. No, Kate said firmly. Look at your tactical displays. Really look. The displays showed dozens of Strider patrols engaged in combat, not just with humans, but with other Striders. Rex's message had spread. The ones who had questioned the old ways, who had seen humanity's potential, were finally taking a stand. Impossible, one of the command members whispered. How many have turned? Enough, Rex said. Enough to make you listen. Enough to force change. A massive explosion rocked the ship. Kate grabbed a console to stay upright, checking the systems with practiced ease. Vale's loyalists are trying to overload the main reactor, she reported. They'd rather destroy everything than see change. Like humans using their atomic weapons, Rex observed. Both our species can be stubborn in our pride. Kate's fingers flew over the controls, remembering everything she'd learned about Strider technology. I can't stop it from here. The reactor controls are locked down. Then we do it the human way, Rex said. We improvise. He turned to the High Command's image. Your choice now. Help us save this ship and start negotiations, or watch your finest vessel destroy itself over pride. The High Commander's facial scales darkened with rage. But another member spoke up. The human's tactical adaptability is remarkable. And if so many of our warriors support this, perhaps. 30 seconds to reactor overload, Kate called out. The High Commander looked at Rex and Kate, at how they stood together, neither backing down. Finally, he growled, Override Code 7 Alpha Zenith, emergency shutdown. The ship's rumbling subsided. In the sudden quiet, Kate could hear cheering from outside. Humans and Strider rebels celebrating together. This is not over, the High Commander warned. No, Kate agreed. It's just beginning. But it begins with understanding, not conquest. The hologram flickered out. Rex turned to Kate, his alien features somehow showing both exhaustion and hope. There will be resistance, from both sides. Of course, Kate stepped closer to him. Change is never easy, but humans are good at doing impossible things. And apparently, so are some Striders. Through the broken viewing window, they could see the sun rising over New York. Below, humans and Striders were emerging from their hiding places, meeting in the open for the first time without weapons raised. "Your first order to me," Kate said quietly, "was to share your bed or die. But you gave me a choice. That's when I first saw you were different. And you chose to show me a better way," Rex replied. "That's when I knew humans were more than just prey." They watched the dawn together, two leaders of a revolution that would change both their species. There would be challenges ahead, prejudices to overcome, trust to build. But they had done the impossible. They had chosen understanding over hatred, growth over destruction. The morning light shone on broken buildings and battle scars, but also on the first steps of two species learning to walk a new path. Together,